Waitress refused to serve him until he bought the restaurant. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Tap the like button and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps us keep bringing you interesting stories that deserves to be heard. Now, let's get into the story. The restaurant smelled like success. Polished wood floors, white linen tablecloths, jazz humming through the ceiling speakers. And on that Thursday afternoon, every booth was full, except one, the one near the window, where he stood, waiting, hoping someone would acknowledge him. But no one came, not the hostess, not the waitress. He watched as other tables got menus, waters, polite smiles. He got nothing, just a glance, then a deliberate turn of the back. His name was Isaiah Freeman, a soft-spoken, clean-cut black man in his early 30s, dressed in a navy cardigan and slacks. But to them, he was invisible, or worse the threat. It wasn't the first time he'd felt it, that silent wall between being seen and being served. But something about this day, this place, hit different. He had come here on a colleague's recommendation, excited to try the food, maybe find a spot to bring clients. Instead, he was left standing alone, watching, waiting, being judged. "Excuse me," he finally said, raising a hand. A waitress looked over, then rolled her eyes and whispered something to hostess. The hostess walked over slowly. "We're a bit busy right now," she said, not bothering to smile. Isaiah looked around. 3 empty tables. "I don't mind waiting." She forced a thin smile. "Maybe come back some other time." No explanation, no apology, just dismissal. Quiet, cold, final. Isaiah stepped out into the cold air, heart pounding. He wasn't angry. He was tired. Tired of this script. Tired of walking into places and being reminded he didn't belong. Tired of smiling through disrespect. But as he stood on that sidewalk, watching the servers through the glass, laughing like nothing had happened, something shifted in him. Not rage, not revenge, resolve. What they didn't know was that Isaiah Freeman wasn't just some random customer. He was a private equity consultant, one of the youngest managing partners in his firm, a man who'd helped acquire and restructure over a dozen restaurants in the last 5 years. He didn't just eat at restaurants. He bought them. He walked back to his office that afternoon, face calm, eyes sharp, pulled out his laptop, searched the address, found the ownership records. The restaurant was locally owned, family-run, barely breaking even. Rent was high. Reviews were mixed. A few good write-ups, but more than a few complaints about customer service. One from just last month. Food was fine. Waitress seemed annoyed we were even there. Isaiah leaned back in his chair, silent, focused. 3 weeks later, he made a call, a discreet offer. 2 weeks after that, he sat in a quiet lawyer's office and signed the purchase papers. Isaiah Freeman now owned the Garden Table Bistro, the same restaurant that refused to serve him. But he didn't post about it, didn't gloat. He let time do the talking. For the first 2 weeks, he observed from a distance, secret visits, listening, watching. The service was inconsistent. The kitchen staff was solid, but front of house? A disaster. Rude hosts, dismissive servers, the same ones who looked him up and down like a stain on white linen. He watched them laugh at black customers behind the bar, skip tables, talk down to working-class folks while smiling at men in suits. It was subtle, but Isaiah knew bias always hides behind manners. Then came Monday morning, staff meeting. The employees shuffled in, half asleep, half bothered. The waitress who had ignored him, the one with the dismissive eyes and fake smile, slouched in the back. The GM cleared his throat. "All right, everyone, we have a few changes coming down from ownership." That's when Isaiah walked in. Every head turned. Some eyes widened. The waitress frowned, whispering, "What's he doing here?" The GM smiled nervously. "Everyone, this is Isaiah Freeman. He's, your new boss." Silence. Thick. Uncomfortable. Isaiah smiled politely. "Good morning. I know some of you may not recognize me, but I recognize this restaurant. Very well. I came in a while ago. Stood right over there by the window. Waited for someone to serve me. No one did. I was told to come back some other time. Eyes dropped, faces shifted. But instead of walking away angry, I walked away determined. He paused. Let the weight sink in. I didn't come here to punish anyone. I came here to change things. And change them, he did. Isaiah started by firing the general manager, ineffective, defensive, and dismissive of every complaint. Then, one by one, he met with each staff member. When the waitress who had ignored him sat across the table, her tone was suddenly sweet. Mr. Freeman, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Isaiah raised a hand. Calm, firm, no misunderstanding. You saw me, and you chose not to serve me, just like I've watched you do to others who didn't look like your ideal customer. That's not how this place will run anymore. She was let go, not out of revenge, but out of necessity. Isaiah hired a new staff, diverse, trained, empathetic. He rebranded the menu, added dishes inspired by Southern Black cuisine, collard green spring rolls, smoked catfish risotto, cornbread with rosemary honey butter, each dish named after a family member, a story, a memory. He hosted weekly community Sundays, offering discounts to local teachers, bus drivers, and frontline workers. He launched a mentorship program, hiring teens from underserved neighborhoods and training them in hospitality, management, and financial literacy. The restaurant that once turned people away was now a beacon. Lines stretched out the door. Food blogs raved. Customers returned. But Isaiah didn't care about popularity. He cared about legacy. And then it happened. 6 months later, a slow Tuesday. He was in the kitchen, wiping down the prep station, when the hostess peeked in. Sir, there's someone asking for the owner. He walked out and saw her, the waitress. Same sharp eyes, but now dimmer. She looked thinner, worn, embarrassed. Mr. Freeman, she said, clearing her throat. I saw the articles, the reviews. I didn't know this place would become what it is. He nodded. Most people don't recognize greatness when it walks in wearing a cardigan. She hesitated. I wanted to apologize for how I treated you. It wasn't right. Isaiah studied her, not with anger, but with clarity. Thank you, he said. I accept your apology. She looked surprised. Do you think there's any chance I could work here again? Isaiah paused, then smiled. Not as a server. Her eyes dropped. But we do need someone to help with our community outreach. You always had strong organization skills. I remember watching you run that floor. Efficient. If you're willing to be part of the change, we can talk. She looked up, shocked. You do that? Isaiah shrugged. Everyone deserves a chance to be better. I just hope next time you offer that same grace to others. That's the thing about power. Real power. It doesn't flex. It lifts. Today, the Garden Table Bistro is more than a restaurant. It's a story of transformation, of humility, of a man who refused to let disrespect shrink him, who turned rejection into ownership and prejudice into purpose. He was there to serve a greater mission. And that's the thing about justice. It doesn't always come with fire and fury. Sometimes it comes with a signature on a deed and a lesson that echoes through every corner of the very place they try to keep you out of. So next time you look down on someone, be careful. You just might be serving the future owner. Thanks for watching. Do not forget to like, comment, share, and most importantly, subscribe to this channel for more thrilling stories. Stay blessed.